There's a false sense in the tech industry that our machines treat all people equally. However, like in the case of the people who make them, this isn't exactly possible. An example of how our tech has caused controversy in our everyday lives is when viral videos popped up of racist soap and water dispensers that couldn't detect the hands of African Americans. Fortunately, most of these evident problems have now been solved and everyone has the courtesy of washing their hands after the bathroom. However, like we've seen a shift of societal focus from a blatant to a systematic and subtle racism, we now see more covert bias and discrimination hidden in our algorithms. One of these phenomenons is called algorithmic bias. Algorithmic bias happens when an algorithm doesn't operate fairly and disproportionately privileges or hurts one group as opposed to another. It derives from the implicit biases embedded in their creators, passed on to them in their coding. There are 5 types of algorithmic bias, 2 of which occur in the implementation phase. These are aggregation bias, which occurs when flawed assumptions are made of a model fitting all groups, and evaluation bias, when the evaluation data doesn't actually represent its target population. The other 3 types of biases occur during the generation of the data. The first, historical bias, happens when the world that the data lives in is flawed and leads to unwanted outcomes. Representation bias, when the data is not actually representative of the population. And lastly, measurement bias. This arises when subsequently choosing and measuring the particular features of interest. Machine learning is used to build most of these algorithms. If you're not exactly sure how this works, in short, the machine is automatically trained by its data, learning and identifying patterns with little human intervention.
What it comes down to is that computers are created by a society that is flawed, which means that without intentional effort, our machines will be flawed in similar ways. For example, in 2016, Microsoft debuted a Twitter-based chatbot named Tay, meant to embody a millennial personality and to learn from interactions with other Twitter users. First tweets it sent out were simple, such as "Hello World." But after Tay spent hours talking with users that encouraged her to say racist and inflammatory things, she started tweeting sentences reflective of racist politics and conspiracy theories, one of which appears on the slide. This pattern can be more dangerous, though, and often appears where social work and computer programming intersect. In Florida, a predictive policing algorithm called Compass, intended to predict which criminal offenders were likely to reoffend, has been revealed to consistently mark black people as more likely to reoffend than white people. Black defendants were misclassified twice as often as white defendants. In 2016, the Ottawa, Canada Police Department implemented a department called OPSOC, designed as a virtual backup tool to police officers. The trouble is that this data-driven approach to policing includes past reports that can reflect an officer's bias. Once this report is banked in the computer's memory, it can affect the way an officer is presented and change the officer's opinion of a situation before it's handled. In Turkish, there's a pronoun o that covers every kind of singular third person, he, she, and it. Previously, Google's algorithm translated O to he in some contexts, such as he is a lawyer, he is an engineer, whereas it translated O to she in contexts like she's a teacher and she's a nurse, reflecting existing gender bias. In 2014, Amazon looked to use in-house algorithms to screen resumes, returning hiring recommendations. The tool was trained on resume data from the previous 10 years. The tool began to discount resumes with the word women in it, as past resumes including these words were not hired.
These shocking examples of discrimination and bias in AI may come as a surprise to us because we perceive computers and algorithms to be consistent, accurate, and non-opinionated, which we assume makes them impartial decision makers. This false confidence prevented society from critically analyzing the ethics of the decisions made by these agents. That's why for so long the biases have gone undetected. Every minute we delay in correcting these biases, the problem grows in a cycle of self-reinforcing biased decision-making. Thankfully, many research groups united under the Partnership on AI are trying to find solutions. This initiative aims to develop, discuss, and share best practices and advance public understanding. Most importantly, the partnership unites more than 80 groups ranging from for-profit tech companies to representatives of civil society to academic and research institutions. One of the many researchers and activists involved in the partnership on AI is Joy Buolamwini. As a student in the civic media group at the MIT Media Lab, she founded the Algorithmic Justice League, which uses art and research to illuminate the social implications of artificial intelligence. Her TED Talk on the topic now has over 1 million views, and her writings have prompted responses from IBM and Microsoft, who swiftly improved their software. On the other side of the spectrum, many large tech companies such as Google, Microsoft, and Facebook have dedicated resources towards investigating the fairness and ethics of their AI systems. For example, Google AI has created the What If tool, which allows them to make it easier for a broad set of people to examine, evaluate, and debug machine learning systems. Thanks to the work done by these organizations, our society is headed in a better direction, where AI systems are critically analyzed and held accountable for their ethical problems. However, this is just the beginning, and there is still a lot of work to be done.